looked a bit into it because I've always been aware of the fact that in South Asia, before colonization, there was the prevalence of this idea of the third gender, and it was the British that came, and
it was like Victorian Christianity basically that chastises all of that, and they implemented sodomy laws, and they implemented gender roles, and as we see it today.
So like I've just looked a bit into that. So these this third gender is known as Hijra. I think that I think they called something else in Pakistan, but that's what we're gonna go with. So
can I say something?
Yeah, go for it.
Just so to cut you off, but one good thing recently, in recent news about Bangladesh, since I was berating them today, Bangladesh recently in the past few months opened up its first. So madrasa is an Islamic school. Bangladesh opened up its first madrasa for Hijras in the past few months, which I was really pleased to see.
Yeah, you're not all bad Bangladesh.
Yeah, exactly. There are some the Hijra community. They're a very interesting kind of community in Bangladesh. In some ways, they are very, very, very much sewn into the fabric of Bengali culture, as I said, pre-colonial times. And especially if we look back to the Hindu roots of Bangladesh, because obviously we were Hindu before we were Muslim. The Hijras and specifically third sex people have a very kind of revered position in society. They're kind of seen as portals of spirituality and all that kind of stuff. Not to iconize them past human, past being human, but so in some ways they're really revered, but also in a lot of ways especially in the post-colonial period, they're just so discriminated against.
Just to give a bit of context for people that don't know what because people might not know what Hijras are. So basically very terms used as eunuchs, intersex people, and transgender people. They basically are neither male nor female. It's a very specifically South Asian thing. There's not, you can translate it in so the thing with sexuality is so is presented and performed so many different ways in different cultures, different religions, and different schools of thoughts and spiritualities. There is no one uniform global performance of gender and sexuality. So what we know as a hijra in a different culture might be a different thing, or in a different culture it might not even exist in the same way. So it is a specifically South Asian regional thing. I just wanted to say, but we can try and translate it into So in order to try and translate it and give this sort of idea of what Hijras are, they often they often dress up like women, describe themselves as being either born that way or they're castrated, hence the eunuch. So like you were saying before, in terms of spirituality, they're often thought to have the power to bless fertility, also curse it.
They're often invited to weddings and baby showers and stuff like that to bless, basically, to bestow their blessing. And that's why I said it goes back to the pre-colonial times when they were treated with great reverence.
And many live, obviously, because of their biological situation. Many live with adopted children and male partners. And in 2014, the India Supreme Court actually officially recognised this third gender, and Hijras falling into that third gender category. So to give a bit of history as to the colonial interference in the Hijra community, which was peacefully existing before this, so I think India was colonized officially by Britain, I think in the 1850s, around then. I think it happened piece by piece. So in 1852, a Hijra called Bora was found brutally murdered in India. During the trial, which was carried out by the British people and the English-speaking Indian people, they described Hijras as cross-dressers, beggars, and unnatural prostitutes. One judge said the community was an
opprobrium upon colonial rule. Another claim that their existence was a reproach to the British government, and they also
get out, bro. Who told you to stay there?
literally. And others said they were a danger to public morals and a threat to colonial political authority. Now, years after Bora's murder, the provinces launched a campaign. So, in terms of this is again the English-speaking Indian people under British rule launched a campaign to reduce the number of eunuchs with the objective of gradually causing their extinction. So again, ethnic cleansing. Yeah. Well, not ethnic cleansing, more like, what is it then? If it's not ethnic, it's sector cleansing?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. So. Basically getting rid of these people.
Bro, like, it's just a
yeah. So these Hijras were considered a criminal tribe under a controversial 1871 law which targeted caste groups also and considered them to be hereditary criminals, basically. Like, it's in their nature, they're going to do this, they're going to do that.
Eugenics,
So this law armed the police with the power of increased surveillance of the community. They were all put on registers with their personal details, defining them as criminals and sexually deviant persons. The registration was also a means of surveillance and a way to ensure that the opted castration, by the way, this isn't like it's not like a cult where it's like you get like brainwashed and then they were like chopping your bits off, basically. Like it is like it's all by choice.
It's essentially gender reassignment surgery as we see it today, but like back then it was obviously a bit different.
Yeah, so they were trying to stamp that out and ensure that this is the most disturbing thing, is like saying that Tracy trying to stop the Hijra population being reproduced, which is so mad because when you obviously think about the biology behind this, from a biological perspective, Hijra people cannot be reproduced in the way of giving birth and then being born a Hijra per se, unless they identify as that. So when they say reproduce, they are meaning stopping the passing on of these traditions of this way of living, which is just why.
Like brainwashing, essentially.
Yeah. So they were prevented from being able to wear female clothing or jewelry, prevented from performing in public, threatened with fines or thrown into prison, cut their hair, strip them if they wore female clothing, experienced police intimidation and coercion. And what's really sad as well is they took away their adopted kids, which I've had conversations actually with a few of my friends who are actually in the LGBTQ plus community about this idea of the nuclear family, and they've expressed their opinion of how obviously family support is a good thing to have. However, we are very much confined to this idea of a nuclear family, and they were saying about how why is it that we need to have mum, dad, then support the kids? Why can't it be like different? You know what I mean? Why can't it be being raised by a community or raised by multiple people?
It is like, as we see it today, is capitalistic, patriarchal. Like we can go into that another time, but like that is where its roots are.
Yeah, but it's really sad they took away their adopted kids, so their kids, to rescue them from a life of infamy. And if they lived with a male child, which obviously they were then like, oh, they're going to castrate them, then they would be risked fines and jails. However, very few of these male children that were living with the Hijras had actually been emasculated at this time, because it was very much, it was a choice thing, and also they were still living with their biological parents for the most part. They were just part of the community. And what's worse as well is like this tirade expanded out beyond Hijras and basically expanded to other non-binary groups, such as men who were wearing effeminate clothing or performed feminine roles in theatre or dance, that sort of thing.
They just really...
Sorry, no, go on.
I was just going to say, they just really like violently implemented Victorian notions of gender.
And I think what's a true testament to the Hijra people is somehow, they managed to survive, and somehow they're still here.
Shout out, man.
Yeah, and they are still discriminated against, but they are still able to perform at weddings, all that type of stuff.
Yeah, in Bangladesh, like you go to a wedding and that's like they're there. You know, I've seen them perform loads of times.
It's just it's just sad that, like, and the thing is as well, I think there is definitely a problem within the South Asian community in terms of, well, we know that we can be quite judgy, we know that we can be quite standoffish, but in terms of sexuality as well, both in terms of accepting it and also just letting people live their lives, I think that's the second one is the thing that I find most problem with, because whilst I don't condone homophobia, and I wish that more South Asian people would understand that closeted homophobia probably does come from colonial times. I do understand how hard it is to break from what you don't know, and if you're not hating, then like I respect your decision to be like, I don't necessarily agree with that, but you do you. That's the thing, you do you. That's what I find a problem with, is when they don't say you do you.
It's not even about agreeing. Like, even that's a little bit like, I know how you meant it, but just to kind of like clarify, even that's a little bit techie. Like, who are you to agree or not agree with somebody else's existence? Like,
exactly.
You're not God. You have no authority. It's not for you to say that you agree with it. If you personally think that homophobia is this terrible, terrible travesty, like, don't be gay. Don't be gay then, you know, like, but don't chat on other people's like existence. Don't who are you to validate or invalidate someone? Like, a gay person is not asking you, can I exist? A gay person is not asking you for permission. Please agree with me so that I can exist. They don't care, bro. Just leave them alone.
Yeah.
This is the thing, like, you see, like, if we're talking about homophobia, or we're just talking about like queer discrimination in general, you see Muslims, oh my god. So obviously, like we've said, that it's you know, in the subcontinent specifically, it is like a colonial hangover, but homophobia has taken on a completely different characteristic, like it's taken on like a really formidable character in the post-colonial period now, where it is so rigid, you know, among Muslims especially, so rigid, because like of like perceived Islamic jurisprudence on like queerness. And in the same way how we spoke about South Asian civilizations and communities and societies having a revered and a designated place and significance for queer people, or gender fluid people, so does Islam, you know. And this is something that a lot of Muslims don't understand. Like, from the Prophet's time, peace be upon him, he was in the company of people who were neither men or women. You know, he was in the company of eunuchs. He was in the company of gender fluid people. There's written accounts of intersex people in Islam. The Prophet respected them. The Prophet kept them as company. So Muslims today, again, the way that this colonial homophobia has evolved and taken such a stronghold on like the Muslim community, guys, like, just allow it, you know, like, just allow it.